So yeah, maybe Andrew,
Yep.
would you like to start our Zoom and then let's go on.
Okay, thank you all for taking your time today to come to this Zoom. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, so many of you, because I know we have quite a few people from different countries. And so I'm just expressing my hello to everybody. The whole idea of this meeting is to learn about cholesterol and to learn more about cholesterol, what it can do, what's the side effects, and what the alternative remedies you can use instead of modern day medicine. Disclaimer, we will be talking about patches. So patches are not meant to treat or diagnose any disease or illnesses. It's only general well-being. And my name is Andrew McKellar. And we got Kate there. And we also got Dr. Expert Dr. John Harmon. So welcome, Dr. Harmon.
Thank you. I'm excited to share all this information with you.
Okay, so
and sorry, Andrew, to stop you. Although we have this cholesterol subject, but prior we started, it was so interesting and new knowledge revealed. Let's go through this tetanus thing as well, because honestly, I didn't know that as well, and just now getting this information, yeah, feeling a bit sorry that I didn't knew it a few months before, when I had a dog bite, and of course going to the hospital. That was one of the first things, together with the rabies shots, which they gave me. They also gave me a tetanus shot.
Yeah, which they always do.
oh.
They always do that. So you're wanting more information about that tetanus
yeah,
shot.
because it's really common, as we all know, and yeah.
Well, if you go into the hospital armed with a little bit of information and questions, you're going to kind of put the emergency technician, nurse, doctor, whoever it is, on the spot. And the first question I would ask, and by the way, this is from my knowledge base. I'm not telling people, how to not listen to a doctor or a healthcare. You do what you want. I'm not your doctor, but I will tell you some information about things like a tetanus shot. When you go in with some kind of a deep wound, you had a dog bite, they always talk about, oh, I stepped on a rusty nail. By the way, the rust has nothing to do with it. But the fact that some kind of germs got deep into your muscle, your skin, whatever it is. And so they're more concerned about that going systemic and giving you a big infection. So that type of thing lives out in the pasture. It's not likely to be in your backyard if you don't have a bunch of animals around, but still, they'll say, well, you need a tetanus shot. Well, then you should say, well, how long would it take my body to build immunity to basic Clostridium tetani, against that tetanus? How long would it take my body to build the immunity? You're almost 100% going to get a blank stare, unfortunately, because it takes at least 10 days to build immunity in your body as a result of getting that tetanus shot. It will have zero effect on the incident, the problem at hand. It won't affect it at all. And so what is the purpose of that shot in the first place if it's not going to do anything for this incident? And I have to tell you, a lot of healthcare providers don't even think about that. They just, you got to get a tetanus shot because we've been programmed to think that that's going to take care of it and it's going to protect that person.
Right.
Granted, a lot of healthcare providers have your best interests at heart, but a lot of them are just doing what they've been told. Like
It's just a procedure.
That's correct.
Pediatricians are told that the vaccines, they're safe and effective, like the COVID shot. There's no harm that could possibly happen. Even when the mom reports fever and a seizure, it shows the vaccine is working. I've heard that from parents, but it's not so. So you can use this whole thing with the COVID shot. A report came out today that shows that it actually gets incorporated into your genes. So if you got the COVID shot, you are genetically different than a regular human. Unfortunately, that's what it is. mRNA, messenger RNA, and it actually changed your genes to make a toxin called the spike protein. Horrible. So use this as the impetus to educate yourself on other things we've been told. Other things we've been told by the community, like, cholesterol causes heart disease. We have to lower your cholesterol. That is so pervasive in the community. You could go up to 100 people on the street and ask them if cholesterol is bad. And just that question, is cholesterol bad? I'm kind of taking a survey. Is cholesterol harmful? Oh yeah. Cholesterol, man, you're going to get hardening of the arteries. And you should go on a statin drug. Well, that is indoctrination. It turns out that they had to find a way to blame fat or meat as causing cardiovascular disease, hardening of the arteries, atherosclerotic plaquing, so that they had a use for their statin drug, because it turns off your ability to make cholesterol. So I was getting a little ahead of you. You haven't even asked me that question yet.
Sorry, Dr. Harmon. I do have a series of questions I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
And then from there, you can tell us more. I've only got like 5 questions.
I'll tear it up more.
Yeah. So, what is cholesterol? That's what we want to know. What is cholesterol in the body?
Yeah, let's start from that. And just meanwhile, if someone will have a question, you can write them into the chat. You can write in any language, whether it's in Estonian or Finnish or English, or later you can ask your questions as well. So don't hesitate if you have a question.
Okay, what is cholesterol? And I want to really put this in perspective at first. Ask yourself this question. Are our bodies so stupid that it makes something that would cause cardiovascular disease? I mean, seriously, everybody in the world, our liver makes a substance that the medical community says is harmful for us. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if that's all the information I gave you today, it would be good enough to not believe this thing about cholesterol. But what is cholesterol? Our body makes a base molecule. Base means from this, I can make a lot of other things. And here are the most important things. All of our sex hormones start with the molecule of cholesterol, and then it will attach different things to it. And this one might be testosterone. This one might be estrogen. This one might be insulin. This one might be something else. So if someone is taking a statin drugs, just know that their body's ability to make hormones just took a deep dive.
Okay.
And they will be unable to do that. It's also very, very important for the brain. About 70% of the brain is made of cholesterol. So if you want to have cognitive issues, if you want to have hormone issues, take a statin drug, because you won't be able to make, it's like you're building buildings and you need 2x4s here in the United States. I don't know how they build things a
Two
little
by
bit
fours, yeah,
different.
yeah.
Yeah. When I lived in Germany, I looked at the construction and I go, that's nothing like it. They do it and then, but here you have to have cement, you have to have, 2x4
Foundation.
lumber. If you run out of lumber, you can't make a house.
Mm.
If you run out, you have to wait until the delivery comes. So if you run out of cholesterol, you can't make hormones. You can't nourish your brain. You can't nourish your skin. And this is what it'll sound like. The doctor starts let's say a 50-year-old man on cholesterol because, your cholesterol is a little bit too high. We're going to start you on this statin drug. Okay,
Right.
doctor, I'll do it. And then you go back 2 years later and you go, man, I'm not feeling that great. Well, let's take some blood. Oh, you know what? Your blood sugar's high. You need to
Right.
take a drug for insulin. And it becomes this revolving door in and out of the doctor for different things that are actually caused by the statin drug.
Right. Okay.
I have one question. Can we also assume that as these statin drugs are so common, the rise of Alzheimer's, for example, is connected, related?
Absolutely. There is a lot of data about the timing of Alzheimer's. We didn't used to have it.
Right.
And so, yes, if you can't nourish your brain, you can't nourish your neurons, then it's not going to work. You're going to have problems. Now, there are other contributing factors, but the statin drugs are one of the big ones.
So the side effects are like dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, maybe.
I don't know if there's a direct correlation with Parkinson's, but if you think about, because it's a very specific part of the brain, but if you think about, just the brain in general, I want to remember who I am when I'm old, and if you're taking something that's robbing your brain of the raw materials to repair and regenerate, then you're going to have a lot of problems. I don't care what the substance is. If it's cholesterol, it's a huge one because you need that for nourishing and taking care of your brain and also for your hormone balance.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have this kind of question. They talking about a good and a bad cholesterol. Can you divide it into the good and bad, or is it all made up as well?
Well, you need both. There's HDL and LDL, and they do different things. And there's this theory that if, your LDL gets oxidized through free radical damage, then it contributes to atherosclerotic plaquing. And that's, they say, the cause of cardiovascular disease. There's a lot more going on, and hope we can unpack some of that and relate that to like the GHK copper peptide, because that helps prevent that oxidation of LDL. You want to have a balance, and our body makes different things. It's not the fact that it makes different things. It's what is our diet? Are we consuming things that cause a lot of oxidative damage? Are we doing things that cause a lot of oxidative damage? And if those things that our body naturally makes get really adversely affected by those things, and our stress level as well, that causes oxidative stress, then things can go south. But it's not because of the thing, it's because of your gut issues or your diet or you know, a big thing is gut. There's a huge gut-brain connection. And, you know, maybe sometime we can talk about that separately.
Great. Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answered your question. The LDL, HDL, they do different things. One, they're moving substances around in your blood. They're both necessary. It's when the LDL gets oxidized that they say that it causes damage.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be some videos on YouTube by two of the most well-known and prominent cardiologists, and they were on the Dr. Oz show. I don't know if you can still find it, but they said back then, it's quite a while ago, blaming cholesterol for being the cause of cardiovascular disease is like blaming the fireman for starting the fire when he's actually there putting the fire out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. You've answered most of my questions, to be honest, Dr. Harmon.
Okay.
But what are the alternatives, natural remedies, and how light technology patches could support and having a healthy cholesterol level?
That is a very good question. And the GHK copper peptide, for example, that's what gets elevated when you wear the X39. This is from the literature. This isn't my opinion. This is in the book that I wrote that references this literature. And in the literature, it says GHK can do a lot more benefit for heart health than, for example, a statin drug could, excuse me, because it helps prevent the oxidation of the LDL I was talking about. But it also helps with microcirculation. So therefore, it could help with blood pressure regulation. So let's just do a brief dive into that, into the microcirculation. So when we have a deprivation of oxygen, for example, in our heart muscle, you know, people can get angina. They can, you know, if it's bad enough, they get a myocardial infarction because there's no oxygen going to it. But it should be this gradual process of, hey, I sense there's not enough circulation to the heart. I need to grow some more capillaries into the heart muscle so that we can get better perfusion, more oxygen in there. So you get this dynamic restructuring, if you will, of our circulation, our circulatory system, when the body senses there's a deprivation of oxygen, but it involves the GHK copper peptide. And so if you don't have that, and you think about when people start to, you know, go through changes related to aging.
Aging, yeah.
If we're at at the age of 35, our GHK copper peptide is about 50% decreased. So we don't have as much of it, and we can't do as much about it if that happens. So if you have a high amount of GHK, then that normal system of increasing capillary growth into areas where the brain, the body senses there's not enough oxygen getting to that muscle. This happens to be a heart muscle. It does the same thing for skeletal muscle when you're working out. But there's this whole process that happens where we get better circulation.
Okay.
The other aspect, or did you have a question?
Sorry, Dr. Harmon, what is GHK? What is that exactly?
GHK, people ask, what do those letters stand for? It's kind of confusing because it's glycine, histidine, and lysine, but it has to do with, I think, the Greek name for it's GHK. It's 3 different amino acids attached together, but they're also attached to a copper atom. So copper is really unique in that it has a place for carrying 2 electrons around. So electrons, everything we eat gets processed down to the smallest component so we can get electrons from it. And then we store those electrons as our power source as ATP. And that happens in the mitochondria. So copper can carry those 2 electrons around, and it can turn on different pathways in the body with either 1 or 2 electrons. So it's very versatile, and that's why there's so many uses. That's why there's so many chapters in the book. It affects the cardiovascular, the skin, every system of the brain, 3 chapters on the brain. It affects so many things because it's so versatile. And so you look at, let's take statin drug compared to GHK. Now, I'm not prescribing GHK for your high cholesterol. What I'm talking about, the body's normal processes that it goes through to make sure everything's healthy. We make cholesterol for a reason. We make LDL for a reason. We make HDL for a reason. It's when it gets out of control because your diet sucks. Sorry. You're eating too much sugar. It's actually sugar that causes, think of it as, when you're making candy and it has you cook the sugar until it caramelizes. Think of that similar to what happens in the body when you have a high amount of sugar. It's not fat. It's not fat. If you look at somebody who eats keto or paleo, they eat a lot of meat. Those who stick to that diet are really cut and muscular.
And lean,
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Lean.
No. Those who eat a lot of sugar are soft and fluffy and way overweight.
Right.
Not all of them, but some of them have, genetic predisposition to not. I mean, their body can use sugar as fuel. My wife's family is like that. And it's remarkable. I mean, if I ate like some of her relatives did, I would weigh 400 pounds, but their genetic makeup is different than mine. And I try to stay away from sugar.
What's good remedies for bringing your cholesterol down naturally through diets and through light technology as well?
And also, let's talk about the normal levels, because I think many people are confused because during the years they've been changing what is normal, and people are confused and tricked.
Yeah.
And now they're recommending that children get prescribed statin drugs. It's horrible. And I'm going to be really frank with you. I've never cared in the least about my cholesterol level, ever. Never. And my patients, I have always told them a low cholesterol is dangerous. You can't make hormones when you have low cholesterol.
Yeah.
So in my practice, I have not focused ever on trying to get somebody's cholesterol level down. Here's what my experience was as a chiropractor. So one of my long-term patients comes in, he said, yeah, man, my joints and my muscles have been hurting so much. And did you do anything? Did you fall? No, nothing. I said, did you start taking statin drug? And they say, yeah, a couple of months ago. Well, it causes joint pain and muscle aches. Get off of that stuff. Right. And then I have the conversation about, cholesterol levels. And it's a moving target in the medical community. Like Kyrie said, they change it. My wife, we'd been married for 13 years. And before we got married, her doctor was always telling her, yeah, your cholesterol level is a little bit too high. You should go on a statin drug. And I said, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want to put you in a memory care, when you're 70 years old. So she didn't. But lo and behold, we've been using GHK. We've been using the X39 for about 5 years now. Right. And without changing anything, her cholesterol level, according to the medical community, is normal. Right. And so there are some things that you can do if you're concerned about your cholesterol level. I say Google it. It's not something that I talk to people about. I have them use the X39, and I've always been one that I've always had this underlying skepticism for anything that, the medical community in tandem with big pharma they've tried to convince people to believe. And so I haven't been someone who told people to get their cholesterol, get your nitric oxide up, get your diet right, stop eating sugar. Um, you can, there's red yeast rice that can lower it. There have been some other things come around, but I'm going to be frank with you. It's not something that I've paid much attention to because I don't believe that somebody's cholesterol, it's not a belief. The real literature doesn't tell me that I need to get somebody's cholesterol level down because it's going to cause all of these things. My focus has been on get your diet right so you don't get all that stuff caramelizing, so to speak, in your blood. And now with the GHK copper peptide being able to stimulate the production of it by wearing the X39 is far better than anything that somebody's going to do
Yeah.
with their cholesterol level.
That makes a lot of sense, Dr. Harmon. I've had the privilege of seeing two pictures of you, one 5 years ago and one now. And you can see how lean you are now than when you was 5 years ago. You can
Yes,
see,
without trying, really.
Yeah, you can see the change.
And a lot of it, I think it was inflammation in my face.
Yes, that's correct.
And my body. And we all have that. And
Yeah.
for 35 years, I've told people most diseases or disorders are caused by a long-term exposure to inflammation. And it's what is causing the inflammation is one of the big problems. Is it parasites? Is it your gut bacteria? I have a team training Zoom every Tuesday night at 7 Mountain Time. And a few weeks ago, we talked about growing and culturing your own Lactobacillus reuteri. And maybe, and if you want to go to, I have a Telegram page, and you can go and join it. You don't have to get any code or anything. It's just called In Harmony Team Training. In Harmony Team Training. And I actually posted a video of how to make your own, how to grow your own. If you've ever had antibiotics in your entire life, ever, you have no Lactobacillus reuteri because you have to get it from your mom.
Right.
So one dose of antibiotics wipes it out, and forevermore you don't have any. But it's so important because it's those guys, those are your big army. If you have them in big enough numbers, they're the ones who kill the things that cause people to have, gut issues, because you get fermentation or you get production of your body starts, start to get affected by things like oxalates that are in spinach and all the superfoods. People say, yeah, I put all the superfoods in a blender, and blueberries and strawberries and spinach and all of these things. Yet you're telling me that you feel crappy.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, but I'm eating all the superfoods. If you have gut issues, those superfoods are some of the worst things you could possibly eat because of well, maybe we'll have a talk about that. But the main thing is you can grow your own. You have to have a lot of, like a half a cup of this type of yogurt that you make that only has Lactobacillus reuteri in it, Reuteri, reuteri. But if it's in large enough numbers, it wipes out the things that cause SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, that ferment things. You think you're eating something healthy like garlic and onion, but you have bacteria that ferments it and makes you feel horrible. If you have a certain type of bacteria, garlic and onion are two of the worst things you could eat. If you have a different type, spinach and superfoods are some of the worst you can eat. You'll feel worse on those. So anyway, getting a high amount of this Lactobacillus reuteri starts to wipe out the bad guys. You can't do it with by taking a couple of capsules. Why do I talk about this right now? Because this is also important for how your body responds to cholesterol
Right.
in the
I
gut.
was gonna touch on the guts anyway, and I'm glad you brought it up. And you
You
did
didn't
say,
know that I could read your mind, did you?
I'm telling you, Dr. Alman. And you know, you said earlier that it's connected, your brain is connected to the gut. And I wanted to just go back over that and then probably how can we repair our guts? Because it's our guts that's gonna give us the high cholesterol, isn't it?
Yeah, and some people have gut issues their whole life in spite of all of the pills they take. They take this and that, and I've taken pills for parasites, and I've taken pills for this, and it gets to be really frustrating and expensive.
Yeah.
But it all starts with what is growing in your gut. There's a documentary on Netflix, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but this group of people went all over the world and they did stool tests. Even tribes out in the jungle in the bush in Africa.
Mhm.
They determined that certain species of bacteria have totally disappeared from modern guts, like inner city. We don't have certain types of bacteria anymore that are very important and beneficial because we eat so much processed food. We get the good bacteria from whole foods. You know, the more processed something is, the more dead it is. It's not alive. It's just dead stuff. And we don't get the microflora being nourished. And, you know, you'll buy a capsule of, you know, probiotics,
Yeah.
and it has 8 different strains. You know how many strains we're supposed to have in our body? 20,000.
Wow.
20,000 different strains. Um, and you can get these shifts. And I used to do stool tests, um, and then I would evaluate what's going on. But there are different companies, and they'll culture the stool, and they'll find, okay, these are the good guys on the far left. The ones in the middle, they're not really good guys or bad guys. They're just taking up space.
Yeah.
The ones on the far right, you got to get rid of those. Those are causing you harm, and they're fermenting things that are normal, human food consumption. We think we're eating healthy, but it's turning those healthy foods into toxins. And so if you look at it like that, and you look at this delicate balance of things that are growing in my gut that each have a purpose, digesting things that I need, even hormones, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, produced in the gut. And some people, if they don't have lactobacillus reuteri, they'll have anxiety or depression
Right.
because they don't make the right hormones in the gut. So there's this Dr. Davis, William Davis, who wrote Wheat Belly. I have his videos on that In Harmony team training page. I've actually posted them there. He talks about and shows you how to grow your own at home. I do that. I put a new batch in about every 10 days. And I'll take
Sorry, Dr. Alman. What is the batch you're growing?
Of Lactobacillus reuteri. So you get organic half and half cream. Excuse me, you mix a little inulin in it because that's what the bacteria needs to eat.
Okay.
And with a starter, you can order it from him. It's you can order a jar of the capsules to start it. But once you start your own batch, you'll never have to buy another bottle of his probiotics again because you simply use 2 tablespoons of the batch that you made before. And so I started it a couple of months ago, and everyone that I've told, hey, go get your own sous vide cooker. You know, that's the French way of cooking in water with the heater that you have a container of water, and then you have the things that you
Yeah.
want to cook. They're either in plastic or inside of a glass bowl, but it heats the water and keeps it at a very specific temperature. And you can get them on Amazon. Get the larger rectangular one. It's easier to, move stuff around and get your sample in and out. But you do 1 quart of half and half organic, half and half milk. And you say, well, I'm allergic to milk. A lot of that gets digested.
Right.
So does the inulin. But now, after 36 hours at 101 degrees, you'll have this batch of L-reuteri. And 2 capsules that is recommended when you buy, probiotics will only have about 2 or 3 billion organisms. A half a cup of your own concoction made at home has 300 billion. And so that is a high enough concentration of those good guys to wipe out the bad guys.
Okay.
And so a lot of problems people have are caused by bad bacteria in their gut that's not, quote, bad enough, in air quotes, to kill you, but it will be an underlying, I feel like doo-doo all the time. No matter what I do, I feel tired, or man, I eat and I feel like, feel like I've been drugged, or I feel like I'm drunk, because that is what's happening. When I said fermentation, it depends on what it ferments it into. You could feel drunk after you eat. It's like fermenting sugar into alcohol. And some people, they'll eat something or they'll consume something, and you read on the label things that have an OL on the end, like alcohol, sorbitol, erythritol. Those, if you have just the wrong bacteria, will make you feel bloated after you eat that stuff, because it ferments it, turns it into hydrogen gas or carbon dioxide gas.
Okay.
So
I have a few questions, Dr. Harmon. Sorry.
Sure.
First of all, back here in Estonia, and very much the same in Finland, we really use a lot of fermented food, fermented vegetables, mushrooms.
Yes.
Does these fermented foods do the same thing?
They will. That gives you a lot of different strains. Yes.
And
Specifically, L-reuteri is not one of them. You have to get it from your mom. It's not out in foods and things. That's why making a whole quart of it and then taking a half of a cup per day is, in addition to whatever you're doing now. Yes, in fermented foods, you get a lot of different strains. It's better than taking a capsule.
yeah.
Right.
And my
Definitely.
other question was back to caramelization. Is it the same process? Is it this process called glycation?
Yes. Yes. A lot of people
Okay.
don't know what that is, so I just say, caramelization.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then from there comes the next question. As we know that carnosine is the patch we can use to prevent glycation.
Yep.
Carnosine is another peptide produced in our body. So can carnosine patch could be the other alternative next to X39 to people who still worried about their cholesterol levels?
Absolutely. And if all you did is Google carnosine, what does carnosine do? The first things that come up, it lowers abnormally high cholesterol. It lowers abnormally high blood pressure. It increases contractility of cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle. This is why the men's U.S. Olympic swim team, one of the reasons they were able to win all those medals in 2004 is because they had carnosine patch and energy enhancer patch.
And 2012 as well, isn't it?
2004. So you think
Okay.
increases contractility of my muscles, wouldn't that be good for an athlete? Absolutely. Wouldn't it be good for the athlete's heart to pump even harder to move that blood along so that I can get oxygen out into my extremities when I'm using those muscles so that I don't cramp up because of a lack of oxygen? Yes, absolutely. Those are two huge things. Dr. Kneller actually has 2 peer-reviewed papers he's published about the benefits of the carnosine patch for cardiovascular health. He's presenting another one to the American Heart Association. He's actually done studies with sonograms where he's looking at for example, the ventricle. The ventricle will collapse, like this when it's pumping. This is a side view of the ventricle, pumping blood that comes back to the heart, goes out, gets oxygen, comes back in, and it gets pumped out to the body. Well, if you can't pump very much, you're not going to be able to get that blood out of there that came back to my heart. So it's called ventricular ejection fraction. He was able to increase ventricular ejection fraction in these participants in the study simply by wearing that carnosine patch. Now, he put 6 of them around the heart because he wanted results right now, but just wearing one of them over a long period of time, you think about what are things that I can do to just keep things healthy or start to reverse things that have started to go down the unhealthy path. And these patches do that. It's all day long. You can go down to Mexico and get a stem cell injection one time, or you can wear the X39 and it turns on the genes that signal your body to make more stem cells every day, every day, every day, every day.
I was gonna ask you, Dr. Amen, if you wear the carnosine, your lower belly, is it gonna profit anything by wearing it down low, but in your belly, or where would you recommend it to be?
Because you're not doing it. You're not doing a study. When you put the carnosine patch on, it's going to go systemically everywhere.
Okay.
And so you don't have to put it around your heart. He did it, 6 of them around the heart, because he's, I'm doing a study. I want to see some changes right now.
Right.
And for each additional patch one puts on, you'll get about a 20% increase in the peptide that it's designed to elevate.
Okay.
It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's about 20% more.
Right.
So going back to cholesterol, is that correct? That actually the clots and the blockages in your arteries is causing sugar, not fat?
Yes, glycation.
Yes. So
this is why.
and also could you tell us, because I know that you know and I know that all these cholesterol lie or cholesterol myth is based on study which results were falsified.
Well, I didn't hear that last part.
All this cholesterol myth is based on
Oh, yes.
studies.
Yeah, it's based on a flawed study called the Framingham study from the 70s. That whole thing came from probably a made-up study, but they call it a flawed study. So now we have these millions and millions of people since the 70s. We've been taught by the medical community, by the drug companies, that cholesterol is bad and we need to take their drug, which leads to, remember when I said insulin has cholesterol as the base molecule before your body changes it and adds things to it, and now it's insulin or testosterone. So insulin levels get affected, and then you go to the doctor and they take your blood work. Man, your blood sugar is high. We need to put you on this diabetes drug. A year or two later, the man comes in, he says, man, I'm having erectile dysfunction. Oh yeah, you're at that age now. You just need to go on this drug. And it's around the next drug and the next drug and the next drug. And then people get into their 60s and 70s and they look so old. They can't maintain their skin health because cholesterol is needed for that. They can't maintain their brain health because cholesterol is needed for that. And they can't maintain their, on and on, their blood sugar.
Yeah.
And so now we have this slow descent into frailty and disability. What happened to Uncle Tom or Grandpa? Grandpa's 60 and he looks 80.
Right.
That is totally unnecessary. And part of my journey is to help people understand this on a global scale. And that's kind of what we do in LifeWave. We help people kind of get off of that treadmill that leads to that and get on to another one with light.
Yeah.
We activate different pathways in our body.
Can you tell us what is the cholesterol's role in skin health? You just mentioned it.
Yeah, you have to have cholesterol to maintain the integrity of the skin.
Is cholesterol connected collagen production as well?
Yeah, the exact mechanism, I know we have to have that as part of the structure of our skin. I don't know the exact attachment, but I can get more information. But it's well known in the literature that cholesterol plays a big role in the suppleness of our skin. Our skin has to be this moisture or dryness barrier. If the skin dries, a lot of people don't really realize, but if you lose the integrity of your skin, you look at old people who've been taking cholesterol drugs for a long time, they just bump the corner and it tears the skin.
Right.
They get all these, they get this bruising just touching something or tearing off. And part of that, at least, is caused by I lost the integrity and the strength of my skin. And so that's our biggest organ. If you have a wound that won't heal, you're at risk of septicemia because the germs there's no barrier. That's our immune system. Huge immune cells in our skin protect us from bacteria and mold and other things. And if we lose the integrity of that, we're much more risk of fatal, seemingly mild bumps and nicks can be fatal if we can't block it out. And then, they put you on antibiotics and then after a while, those don't work. But, I have this wound. So between GHK and, the other patches, we have the aloe vera that's very good for skin. And then we have the need to have enough cholesterol to maintain the integrity. What's the first thing we look at when we go up to meet somebody? Their face. And the person will either look vibrant, healthy, and young, or if their face is really wrinkled and, the really deep wrinkles, we automatically think that person must be this age. And so people spend billions of dollars trying to make their skin on their face look better, sometimes by stretching it and cutting parts off and plumping things up. My opinion is better to do it naturally.
That's right. That's right. I just want to bring you back to a time a couple years back. I was put on cholesterol tablets. I'm not sure the name, which one I was on. However, after maybe a year, I managed to bring my levels back down and came off. And a couple years after that, it went up again. It spiked back up, and the doctors were like, "Oh, you need to go on, cholesterol tablets." The first doctor, he frightened me so much. He said, "You got a 13% chance of getting a heart attack." I was like, "Really?" I'm not a big person, so how can that be? So, but yeah, so since that, two other doctors have said, "Do you want to go back on cholesterol?" I said, No, I'm going to deal with it now I'll bring it back down. I know how to do it. So it's important that we understand that some of the things that we take tablets for, especially cholesterol, we can fight this with, patches and dieting,
Diet.
everything like that, is important. So this meeting is really crucial to hear. And GHK, I've never heard that one before, but yeah, it's very good. So I'll be looking into all this. Yeah.
So if that study was a flawed study about cholesterol level, then should we worry about these levels that doctors are telling us are harmful?
30%. It's like 30% chance of getting a heart attack.
Yes, and exactly. I totally agree with you, Dr. Harmon, because I've had high cholesterol all my life long and been very happy with it. And I've never worried about this thing at all, the other way around. And I keep telling the same thing to people when they come to me and asking, oh, what should I do? Doctor said I have high cholesterol. I'm saying that you shouldn't do anything. You should be happy about your high cholesterol, and you should be worried when your cholesterol is low. But today we also have a special guest, Hilla, who would like to share her experience. Hilla, maybe you would like to share, or you want me to help you? Switch on your microphone. You are muted. I can't unmute you. You have muted your microphone. We can't hear you. Hilla, can you unmute yourself?
Okay. I don't think it's going to happen, Kate.
Because we were talking with Hilla earlier, so
yeah, if you can explain the testimony of what she told you, then until she can figure it out, that'd be better.
Okay, I will find her text she sent me earlier. So yes. About background, she's a type 1 diabetic, and in Finland, diabetes care has been systematic with national treatment guidelines ensuring high standards. This includes annual monitoring of cholesterol levels through laboratory tests and guidance from specialists. Over the past decade, cholesterol management for diabetics has shifted towards stricter LDL cholesterol targets and more individualized treatment. New medication options such, this is too technical, and her personal experience. I was placed on a very strict statin prevention program. Various drugs and dosages were tried, but my body could not tolerate cholesterol medications. I suffered from severe lower limb pain and occasional cramps, particularly at night, which disrupted my sleep. Laboratory tests showed elevated enzyme levels commonly associated with heart attacks. I took considerable effort before my concerns about side effects were acknowledged. Eventually, I informed my doctor that I do not wish to continue these medications. So while stricter cholesterol medication guidelines are based on research evidence, it's crucial to consider individual differences in drug tolerance. So yeah, as very similar to your patient, Dr. Harman, Hille had the same experience. She experienced pain in her limbs, even cramps. And these all were side effects of cholesterol medications, plus the enzymes which are correlated with the risk of heart attack were increased. So
Isn't that ironic?
Yep.
that the very thing is supposed to prevent it actually increases those symptoms. And the same is true for those SSRI drugs that they have listed side effects. But there's always nice music playing on TV when they say, if you have an increase of this or that, or suicidal thoughts or whatever, and they're taking a drug for suicidal thoughts, yet they get an increase in suicidal thoughts, similar to cholesterol. So yeah, it's much better to control things by making sure you have a healthy gut, making sure you're eating whole foods, not processed foods, and making sure that the food that you're eating isn't causing, until you get your gut right, the foods that you may be eating could be causing
Risk.
Fermentation,
Yeah.
which would cause you to feel horrible.
Right.
yes, and a very simple rule: read ingredients, and if you can't pronounce
Yeah.
the name of ingredient, don't eat it.
So
if you think you're getting a bag of broccoli, if there's anything on there besides broccoli and sea salt or something else, it's not natural most of the time.
okay. That's very interesting. All right. What we would like to do now is just open the floor to anyone that would like to ask any questions. If you've got any, personal questions that you would like to ask, please feel free.
Or if you have any comments, thoughts, you're more than welcome. While you are thinking, then Geda wrote a comment that there's a great movie called First Do No Farm, really good. Where
Yes.
yeah, I haven't seen it, but yeah, obviously it is a
That's
good
the physician's creed that we have to take at graduation. Above all, do no harm.
What is the name of it, Kate?
Look in the chat. It's first. It's first do not harm, but farm, coming from word pharmacy.
First, do no farm.
Yeah.
PHARM.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I will share the screen. Geda also sent me the
The Reuteri is spelled, I'm going to put it in the chat.
Thank you.
It's REUTERII. It's Lactobacillus reuteri.
Okay, thank you.
That's the German word.
Okay. Lovely.
So can you see the screen?
It's very small, but yeah.
Why can't I? Yeah. So.
Okay, that book. Yes, I've seen that book. Yeah.
So. This one we can recommend you to read, and here you can see that it's not just my and Dr. Harmon's opinion. It's rather well-known fact that things are not as they.
Not as we've been told, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a big myth, and our aim is to share information.
Right.
And as you said, Dr. Harmon, I absolutely agree that information is power, and if you have information, then yeah, you can make your
Positive changes. Can make positive changes. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Dr. Harmon, oh my God, you are amazing. You are amazing. I'm telling you, your knowledge, my head is
Thank
blown
you.
away. I'm gonna have to watch the recordings a few times before I get all that information down. But thank you so much. We would love to have you again, and we would love to go on the subject of COVID vaccine, if that's something that
Oh
you...
boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, come on now,
Yeah.
doctor,
I'll
please.
just whet your appetite. Something just came out like recently that if you got that vaccine, your genes are different now.
Right, so you save that, please.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a Zoom in maybe
Keeping
3
my
weeks
mouth
time.
closed.
Yeah, 3 weeks time, we do a Zoom. We'll have a good chat about it and see
Sounds
what we
good.
can do. If people have took the vaccine, what they can do to help recover. That'd be great.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
everybody
you.
that came on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harmon. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, everyone. And yeah, this recording will be available as well.
Yep.
So you can just watch it again, as there's really a lot of information. And yeah, please share it. Sharing is caring, and
Right.
our aim is to educate people.
Yep. Great.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So
Take
much.
care. That's